So as a normal game developer, I had two options: continue working on the game I said I was gonna finish in my last video, or well, to do the sensible option and choose not to finish that and start working on something new. Well, since my last game was a tad bit complicated, I decided to start something more simple and structured from the beginning, so I can finally finish and publish a project. Don't tell anyone I said that last time, but this time I actually mean it. Well, that idea is Stardew Valley plus third person plus a lot more focus on fishing. Let me explain. The main premise of the game will be that you have to compete in fishing tournaments and seasons to improve yourself and earn new goodies, all while there's a brand new unique fish in this village that everyone is obsessed over. So to start, we need to make this guy move and add terrain, and I figured the very first thing that needs doing is the passing of the day. Well, since this is similar to Stardew Valley, I did use their method of calculating the days by having all months be 28 days, which gives us the ability to confidently claim the current day with the minimum amount, which is 1, and the maximum one, which we know is going to be 28, and then use the reminder of dividing with 7 to always get the current 7 days in a week. That gives us the ability to control the minutes, hours, days, months, years, all of this with a very simple algorithm. Like in Stardew Valley, you will have seasons, and by adding this directional light set to real time, we can actually move the sun gradually using an interval, and at the specific time the sun moves away, we can bring up the moon to have that nice shine across our map. First failed attempt at fishing. Now I was eager to start working on fishing. I wanted a mechanic that when you're at the docks you can press a button and go into the first person and then the fishing starts. The first idea was having the fishing be a UI element which will share a whole different variety of quick time events like holding, pressing, tapping, and so on. This was the first prototype, so it did look bad, but I was just prototyping so I can see how it feels. And right out of the gate, I disliked it. It's zero fun to just focus on this UI that is blocking your view of what's actually entertaining, and that's watching the actual fish. Watching several other examples like Final Fantasy XV's fishing, which had these indicators where you need to pull up the fish, I was inspired to try again from scratch. Second failed attempt at fishing. The second version looked really rough, where you can only throw the fishing line at the specified places. In reality, that was a plane which you will need to shoot for, and then later on I hit the plane and added swimming fish. If you throw towards the fishes, the fishing will start. If you don't, well, you have to do it again after a cooldown. The fishing line I spent ages on, and it's using Verlet integration, which is a numerical method used to integrate Newton's equations of motion. I mean, that probably means nothing, but if you're interested, I would highly recommend this video by Sebastian Log. Improving on that implementation, I was able to put bait on top of the line, and when you now throw the line, it looks really cool. The fish can bite the bait and start moving side to side, erratically trying to escape. Once it's tired, you're able to pull it and catch it. Now this looked okay, maybe with some improved visuals it would be fine, but since fishing is a realistically boring thing to do, people don't go out to fish for the thrill of it but for the comfort and chill. This looked boring as well. My main concern was the lack of actual fun and freedom. You can only throw the fishing line on the specified spots. How will that determine the difficulty of the fish you're trying to fish? Also, what if you wanted to throw the goddamn thing as far as you want just because? And how would you be able to see the fish moving? Well, then comes my third and so far the most satisfying attempt yet. Immediately by adding the freedom to a player to throw anywhere and the fish slowly coming towards the bait, allow the player to feel more like he can do anything you want. And why not use that to actually calculate how far the player has thrown, and based on that spawn fishes that are higher level. And we can control the distance thrown by adding data to each fishing rod that exists. That way, when the player progresses further, he can earn better and better fishing rods, allowing him to throw further away and having better strength so he can pull faster. I also added this little UI this time, just for the convenience of not being able to see the fish for various reasons. Now with your movement controls, you can move this little dot to the specified area to tire out the fish, allowing you to pull it so you can catch it. Each fish has a different sized area, making it harder to get the fish. I think this is a nice compromise between the ugly over the top UI and the clunkiness of the second attempt. This method uses both of those to create the best fishing experience, and with added visuals like animations, different fish, and flopping particles, you can see this thing really in action. While I was showing you the fishing mechanics, you could see that the rest of the game pretty much shifted into a completely different direction. Well, that's because I've been doing this fishing for over a month, trying to figure out the best things to implement, since I knew this was gonna be the main mechanic, so it has to be as much fun as possible. So let's track back. This is great and all, but the game is ugly, like really ugly. We need grass, and trying to make grass myself always resulted in something really crappy. Also, I didn't want the game to look this way. It definitely didn't resonate with the visual style I was going for. So I used an asset called the Dreamscape Village, which came with the grass and water. Our old water looked really bland and I really wanted to replace it. Just setting up this quick scene, you can see how differently it actually is. It's starting to look really great. I then started to work on the inventory system, which was looking kinda jank, but you can pick up items, they will spawn in your inventory and stack. You can move items and all that jazz. Also, you can start building. You will have different set of houses you can build, and each house will increase the inventory space you have. Also, a lot of building will ease your farming ability, and more farming will get you more fish since you can farm from different baits and sell the veggies for money. The building is freeform, and in the current state it looks dreadful. You go into this top-down view of your plot so you can start adding things, so I added all of these constraints, but it just doesn't look that impressive. But I cleaned up the plot, added a grid for placing farming plots, and added snappable fences that you can add. What I need to do next is introduce a whole lot of new props and items to build, as well as fixing the camera. If you have any suggestions about the camera, because right now I feel a bit on the fence. Should I add a third-person camera when building, or leave it like this and add the ability to move the camera from the top-down view? Tell me down in the comments. And also, I think that I need to do the revamp on the whole building mechanics, which I will do in the next episode, which you can add new sets of plots and remove items, getting your money back. I then added this nice dialogue system in which you can choose options and the NPC can respond. For their models, I added a Synthi asset pack, which does need replacing. I wanted to model my own custom characters so that it looks more authentic, but for testing this will do. I also added this feature of removing rocks, in which you'll have to wait for a specific amount of time to actually dig it out. This animation is just for testing, but I removed this mechanic since the whole clean your plot before buying is kinda weird and every single game is using it. And I'm still thinking whether I want that implemented or not. If you actually have ideas, please let me know down in the comments. I added some weather effects. Now depending on each season, a different thing can happen. For example, in summer there's a low chance of rain and there's no chance of snow, but it's different every time. In the fall it rains a lot, and in the winter you can see snow. Also, the leaves can fall off the trees after they turn yellow in the fall, and in the spring they can grow back again. At this time it was time for making a trailer, and some portion of the map my girlfriend and level designer Ivana did a little bit here and there for the trailer, but her most impressive work started afterwards. The trailer introduces that the villagers are all in awe about this new fish and they all want to get on it. You're here and you're new. You learn about the fish and your goal is to get it before anyone else. And the last thing I did was implement seasons. Now the visuals are all in development stage, but on each of these boards you can actually see the current leaderboards. There will be 4 distinct factions in which you're able to choose based on your perception of them upon your arrival. I don't want to spoil the story part yet, but you will learn a lot about each faction, and on the opening ceremony you're gonna be able to choose one of them based on their story, their skills and attributes. Each faction will give out unique skills and abilities, but you compete against everyone. Every time you get the fish, a certain amount of points will be granted to you, and at the end of each day the leaderboard will update. When the season ends, the top 3 people will receive special emblems that will represent their position last season, and also a lot of good stuff like new fishing rods, new items and stuff like that. Also, Ivana made this insane looking main town which will have all sorts of things. The player can sell here, buy baits, crafting stuff, but a lot of details need to be added. And on the plot you can use this bait crafter which you can combine 2 fishes and get a bait with a certain level. And that is full 3 months of work. You can wishlist the game on Steam to support us making this project. There's a lot more to be done, but I'm happy that we're going in the right direction. And the game is on Steam right now, so you can wishlist it and watch the trailer. And if you're interested in beta testing the game, you're more than welcome to join our Discord. And I'm confident that this is gonna be awesome. So subscribe to get notified for the next episode. See ya!